Can we start rolling? Well, wait till 6. Okay. I'm going to call this meeting to order on March 9th, 2020. Hello, everybody. Glad to see some familiar and unfamiliar faces tonight. So first we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh,
Hold on, folks, hold on.
No, we're not. Oh, there we go. There we go. Good job. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
John, do we have any changes or additions to this agenda?
Oh, Corey, we do not. This agenda is good to go. Thank you.
Okay. And we're going to go right into public comment. Any public comment? Yes? Hi.
And I just wanted to, first of all, say, thank you. I just want to say thank you for continuing to look at ways that we can expand our students' opportunities. I love the conversations and things that we're having as far as the improving the buildings and grounds. Many who know me know that I've been fighting really hard as well for a systemic school improvement process as well. And I think that one of the things that we need to look at and start the conversation with all of our stakeholders, the staff, the students, the parents, our community members, is what is Glen Lake's why? What is it that we really want to develop here in Glen Lake and make ourselves the exceptional school that everybody else wants to model themselves after? So I just really encourage starting that process so that when we get to this part about talking about our buildings and the grounds, that all supports what we want out of our child's education, so that when we talk about changing infrastructures or buildings, that we're doing that with that end in mind, that this classroom remodel or whatever we're doing is really going to help improve those academic and educational components. Thank you.
Corey, maybe not a public comment, but we want to recognize Kerrigan Lacrosse, Betty Beck, who are here representing Spencer and the seniors in the student government tonight. Grateful to have those ladies with us.
And no other public comments? Okay, we're going to start with the student spotlight. Eleanor Faulkner.
We have Jamie Robinson.
Mrs. Robinson.
Yes.
Can I have Eleanor Faulkner come on up here with me, please? You want me to go over here? Eleanor, let's go over here. Hello. Hello, lovely. She has probably no clue why she's up here. So a lot of people don't know this lady. She's amazing. And it got brought to, we had a situation where she's been recognized tonight for a quick response and execution during a medical emergency that happened during her 8th grade basketball practice in January. She realized that her friend was having a medical emergency, was able to recognize it, act with love, compassion, dedication that was just simply amazing. She took charge. She made sure that key players were in that gym, and she stayed with EMS until her friend arrived. Once they arrived, she was able to answer questions and with precision and knowledge of the other students' health emergency that we were just didn't know that she knew because it was her friend. She was then asked to go with her friend by the ambulance to the hospital, and without a doubt, this girl was in it for the long haul. Eleanor, your maturity, ability to act quickly on your feet, and compassion and love are exactly what makes you a special Laker. Thank you for being an outstanding Laker. So, there's the award. She nailed it, you guys. It was amazing. So, who's up next?
Thank you, Mrs. Robinson. Thank you. Eleanor, thanks so much. Really proud of you, kiddo.
Next is Students of the Month, and I believe Tarina Zimmer will start elementary.
And I have Ms. Harper McDonald. Come up, sweetheart. And if you would like to bring your family up too, we would love to have them join you.
One of you.
All right, that way, Harper, you don't have to stand up here by yourself. Can you tell us who you have with you?
Addie, Mommy, Lucy, and Dada, and Margot.
And Margot?
All right, and Mommy and Daddy are Kenna and Michael McDonald. So thank you. Let me read to you what Ms. Turner has to say about Harper. Harper is a hard worker, a kind peer, and a gem to work with. Harper always is willing to help others with any needs they may have. She has a special knack. Don't know why I took them off. All right. She has a special knack for helping others in their academic needs in a kind and loving way. She is great at explaining to her peers and has incredible patience. Harper always strives to do her best. She looks for ways to expand her knowledge and is abundantly creative. She loves to read and share what she has read with her peers in many different forms. Her classmates love to hear about her reading adventures. Harper is respectful and helpful to adults. She has a great sense of humor that makes her teachers laugh daily. It has been a delight to work with Harper this year. She is an all-around great kid. Nice job, sweetheart. So we have a certificate for Harper, but I will be coming home a little bit later this week, so I will give you the write-up that you can have. So thank you for sharing Harper with us.
Good job, Harper.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mrs. Stephanie Wong.
Hi there. So could I please have Alex Eaton and Alex's parents, Jacob and Kayla Eaton? Hi, Jacob. Or Alex, excuse me, not Jacob. Here you go. Sorry. Hi.
Hi.
Hi there. Hi. Thank you for coming. So Alex is a 7th grader, and he was elected Student of the Month for the middle school. And I'm going to embarrass you and read a couple of things your teachers have said. Okay. So I can't think of a more cooperative, respectful, and disciplined student than Alex Eaton. He goes out of his way to make others comfortable, and his quiet leadership is noticed and appreciated. A dedicated scholar, Alex approaches every task with focus and care. He will undoubtedly achieve great things, and I'm grateful to be his teacher. He is rock solid in his approach to academics, behavior, and work habits. Classmates look up to him for these traits. I am 100% confident in his ability to tackle any and all challenges that come his way. He doesn't get caught up in some of the silliness of classmates, but forges ahead in a thoughtful, responsible manner. He is a great student. He thinks, he responds, and he works. A terrific young man. And Alex consistently challenges himself and performs at a high level. He is conscientious, kind, and thoughtful. He is a leader to his peers. Alex is most deserving of Student of the Month. Thank you, Alex. Great role model. And we have a certificate for Alex as well, and we'll be getting that to you in school. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah, for sure. And can we have Riley Loeffler, please? Riley's parents are Don and Amanda Loeffler. Hi, Riley. Congratulations. You're welcome. Hi. Hi, how are you? Congratulations. Thanks for coming. Hi, thank you. So Riley, we're going to do the same thing. Riley is a very hard worker. She always puts more than 100% into her work and effort. She's always focused in class and willing to help others. She participates in discussions. She's respectful and kind. She works well with everyone, and she is a wonderful person. She's an exceptional student in many ways. She's extremely dedicated to challenging herself academically and does very thorough work, even on the most routine of tasks. She's a great teammate, always considering other ways to solve a problem. She cares enough to take time to help a struggling classmate and patiently is able to explain until they understand. She goes above and beyond, always and in all ways. She's a dedicated, thoughtful always pushing herself reader, writer, and thinker. Though often quiet, her work on the page and within her small groups is loudly excellent in the metaphorical and most celebratory sense. Can you guess whose this writing is? She is a frequent and insightful recommender of books to her Honors 9 classmates, an avid reviser, constantly pushing herself toward fitting descriptions and the nuanced and best choices of words. And she is open for risk-taking and tough challenges. I'm so proud of her sincere reflections and what she offers to her counterparts. She is amply deserving of this recognition. Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations, yes. Thank you so much. Thanks. We'll get you your certificate as well. Thank you.
Okay, next is Kara Addie with the student council report.
Yep. So we recently had our snowball dance. It went really well. People enjoyed the music, and a lot of people showed up. Right now, we're working on our planning for Laker Fest. We have a couple themes in the works, and we're hoping to have a final decision by the end of this week. We'll have to plan for food and games, and yeah, that's what's on our agenda. We've been having a lot of useful meetings, so.
Good.
Yeah. Any questions?
No, but thanks for filling in.
Yeah.
That's great. And we got game tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah. Exciting stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
For those of you that don't know, Kerrigan is one of our seniors on our girls basketball team that just won the district championship Friday night against Traverse City St. Francis. Captain of the team. She has just tremendous leadership skills. Betty played on our junior varsity team, is managing for the varsity through the state championship game. And I think it's pretty well known. You are the good luck charm, Betty, yes, for this championship run. So, ladies, we know you need to head out and get ready for tomorrow, but thanks so much for coming in and sharing that with us. Well done. And go Lakers. Let's go get it tomorrow.
Lakers. All right. Good job. Okay. Next on is consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Okay. Okay. Any discussion? No? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we are now on to the discussion items, and our first one on the list is Women's Sports Leadership Presentation.
Thank you, Board. Back in February 2nd and 3rd, you approved 8 awesome young ladies: Zoe Corson, Ruby Hogan, Emma Depew, Carly Nicholas, Ariana Heath, and these 3 outstanding young ladies that are with us this evening, Betty Beck, McKenna Scott, and Grace Diot, to attend the every other year Women in Sports Leadership Conference in Lansing. And so they did an excellent job of putting together a video very shortly after, or even at the time of the conference, that was sent to me under the leadership of Shan Bowens and Donna King, based on their experience that they had. And I felt it was super important for them to be here at an upcoming board meeting. I think we were shooting for February, but at least 7, if not 8 of them were tied up. That's kind of tells us how busy they are. So we were fortunate to be able to get 3 of them here this evening and just share some of their experience and their thoughts with you based on that experience at WISL.
Okay, so the first one we had was what impacted me most as a young female leader. And I think one of the biggest things, like, there was different workshops you were able to go to. And the one that I chose first was changing the mentality of everyone involved in the sport. Because I feel like whether you have like a winning team or not, like, I think it's very useful. And so one of the biggest things I learned was that championship teams are coached by teammates and players versus a coach. And I found that really interesting because you usually see like a coach running back and forth, like not necessarily yelling, but instructing. And for this coach who also coached women's basketball to say that it's more the teammates made a lot of sense to me because it takes a lot of trust in your teammates to be able to listen to them and maturity to know like somebody maybe not above you but that may be better at something than you to listen to them. That takes maturity. And listening openly to one another is also a big thing. And this can apply in the classroom when working on group projects or assignments, listening to each other and knowing like you need help and realizing that. And working together and coaching each other instead of relying on the teacher and coach can lead the team or a group to success.
So one of the like stations we went to is called True Colors, and this one was like all about learning who you are as a person and being able to see your own strengths along with your weaknesses, but like laid out as in one instead of just separating them. And one of the more fun things to learn about within this area was about the colors and how you can know someone's color and like benefit yourself and also others around you by using their colors to advantage your colors and so on. Also, setting meaningful goals was one of the best parts of it. It was able to teach us that setting goals when things are tough is necessary for yourself. In other words, that could be one of the ways you push through and succeed. So setting a goal even after you fail one or even after you've reached one, or setting mini goals to get up to one big goal is like really important in the process of reaching your overall dream, I guess.
How will I use what I learned to better myself and my peers? This was something that I thought would be a little bit harder to do, but I think something we all can take away from this was that we as like humans and like kids and teenagers need to focus more on the positive aspects in life than automatically looking at the bad things. The same lady that I went to earlier, she was in this one, and she said that, so like when her team enters the locker room at halftime, and maybe they weren't so good at like shooting free throws the first time, she first looks and says like, let's look at what we're good at and build off of it. And I found that very interesting because a lot of times maybe you start with negatives and maybe that's all you might talk about in the locker room, but knowing and realizing what your whole team is good at overall and learning how to like build off of it instead of focusing on the bad things can affect your overall team and the chemistry it has. And in the classroom, at a job, or on the court of any sport, you're usually always surrounded by people. So I found that if you collectively as a whole take the time to look at the things you guys are doing well together, it would probably build better relationships also. And it will positively improve your overall happiness and the satisfaction on the daily learning to do that.
So going to this conference was a really good experience, but we didn't just want to like keep it to ourselves. We also wanted to bring it back to everyone around us. And I'm going to summarize this a bit, but pretty much we've realized that it's not just about sports, it's also about your academics. We can bring back the fact of setting goals to reach one big goal to the classroom and to our sports. For example, the girls want to win the state championship, so they have to set mini goals of winning districts and regionals to get up to that point. And even just reminding your teammates about how when, we have our weaknesses, we did this bad, but what did we do good? And using what we do good and what we're good at to strengthen ourselves. And then also that can even come back to the classroom, just reminding our own peers of what we can do if we get a bad test score, how we can study, how we can work together, how we can like improve ourselves. So just kind of reminding people is almost a way to teach them. Instead of just being like, oh, you have to do this and this, just like reminders and helping them along the way in like different areas of life, because like this conference didn't only apply to our sports, and we are very appreciative that we were able to take this trip to go learn all this stuff. So thank you.
Good job.
Thanks to Betty, Grace, and McKenna, 3 of our JV girls basketball players. So good luck to your program as we continue the track down the MHSA tournament road tomorrow night, gals. Thank you.
Next is English 12 trip to Grand Rapids presentation.
Hi. In case anyone doesn't know me, I'm Emily Alt, and I teach senior English. And
I'm Dana Schlosser. I'm her co-teacher and also a special ed teacher here at Company.
so we just wanted to take a couple of minutes and thank the board and Mr. Hoover and Mrs. Long for helping us make this possible for our students. In February 5th and 6th, the senior English class and myself and Ms. Schlosser went to Grand Rapids for an overnight trip. We were there for 3 major events. We went to the Frederick Meyer Gardens, and we also went to we did a workshop with a poetry group called the Diatribe. But the coolest thing and the most amazing thing that we were able to experience was we went and saw the touring Broadway production of Hamilton. This is all tied into our English 12 curriculum, and currently students are working on their final assessment for it. But this entire experience was just like unprecedented, unlike anything I've ever had a chance to do for myself as a teacher, and certainly for most of our students, unlike anything they've ever had a chance to do.
Sure. So prior to going, we talked to our students. I see you over there. We talked to our students and suggested what you wear when you go out, that you need to make yourself look like something because we are going to this play, that you not only represent yourself but also Glen Lake. And that really posed a lot of discussion in class. What do we wear? How should we look? What do you mean we need to get dressed up? And a lot of the conversation was based upon, you know, you're a senior and you've got some really big milestone events coming up, and you're going to want to look like something for that too. So let's set the stage now. Let's build on this now. And so we got several students coming in with their outfits that they picked out. It was a big deal. It was a lot of fun for some of them. For some, they were really stressed out. Hence this lovely green outfit that we helped the student with. But you know, he wore it and got compliments wherever he went. So it was great.
He actually really owns that. So
He did.
That is a Riddler's costume that I actually have in the costume box of my closet. And we were about 5 minutes away from leaving on the bus in the morning, and he was like, I don't have my dress shirt, I don't have my coat, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, we're bringing the Riddler's coat. So he wore it, and he totally owned it, and it was fantastic. How do I do this? Yes, okay. We also asked our students to write thank you notes to the board and to Mr. Hoover and Mrs. Long, and these are just a couple little excerpts from some of the things that our students wrote. I would say the biggest thing that we're seeing from our students was just this ability to step outside of their comfort zone and this ability to kind of see the world in a larger sense than what they've necessarily experienced over the past 12 years of their high school experience. I really loved what this child reflected on, and she wrote about this idea of being part of something bigger than herself. And I thought that was just like I know I was tearing up. I thought that was just a beautiful way of thinking about this experience that not only this trip has brought to our students, but also just being in this English 12 class. It's a small class. I think there's only 16 students in the class right now. And the bond and the group, dynamic that we've developed is definitely family. There's days where things are up and there's days when things are down, but I think that at the end of the day, all of us really are there for each other, and all the students know that, and that's a really cool thing to witness and to be a part of. I don't know if I'm doing this right. I never do it right. Help.
I think is that Bethany? Is that who you got?
Thanks. Okay. This was from Frederick Meyer Gardens. So they had this really amazing exhibit that is gone now, but it was a touring exhibit called The Womb. And I know it's very difficult to see from here, but these are kind of like strands of things hanging down, but they're all dried flowers. It was over 100,000 flowers that the Frederick Meyer Gardens and the artists put together. And the flowers, when you look at them, are all in this beautiful like color pattern, and it's just absolutely amazing. So we got a chance to see that. And then I put the picture of the penguins here because several of the students in that photo expressed that the penguin photo was their most exciting photo of the entire trip, was using this green screen at Frederick Meyer Gardens. So I wanted to honor the fact that they were very invested in that photo. So next slide, please. More examples from kids and more examples of things that they took away from it. One of our students has been interested in and excited about Hamilton since he was in 10th grade. And I wish I had a photo of him on the day that we announced that we were going to Hamilton, because his face was about the most excited you've ever seen from a student. And his mouth was like, oh. So it was just a really amazing thing for kids to have the experience to have, I guess. Yeah. One more slide. I think that's it. So this is one of our students right in front of the billboard that they had. And then this is not a great photo of all of us, but most of us. This was at the writing workshop that we did on the last day, right before we left to come back up to Leelanau County. We did this really cool writing workshop with a poetry group that's based in Grand Rapids called the Diatribe. And it was a really interesting experience because I think for most of the students, they weren't, they were like, oh, we'll do a poetry workshop, we'll see what happens. But for the most part, that was the thing that most kids took away from as being the most powerful aspect of the trip. So they just said, yeah, and it was at this beautiful church in downtown Grand Rapids that has a beautiful history of all these different speakers and that sort of thing. So I do have a photo of one of our students standing at a podium that Malcolm X spoke at, which is really amazing because he had just read the autobiography of Malcolm X. So this was it was just an amazing, amazing experience. So yeah, we just wanted to thank you.
I had never been to anything like this, the workshop, and I was amazed at how quickly it went. I wanted more time. We got there at 9 or 10, and we left by noon. And so it was so quick. And the facilitators, Fable. They have this way of just getting you in, and the kids, I watched over all of our students just soaking it all in and wanting to do more and to write more and be inspired by them. And that alone was just the coolest thing. Like, I was excited to go see Hamilton, and I'm so grateful for that experience. But to see these kids just take it all in was awesome. It was so inspiring. So thank you.
We really just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity, and our students it was just the coolest thing that I've ever experienced in my entire life. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
So I love the excitement. I love the excitement.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. Thank you also for the thank you, the sharing those, the student reflections or their thank yous. That was really powerful to read. And thank you for inviting Margot, who's not an English 12, but spends considerable time hanging out in your classroom. She loved it.
Great. Thank you again, ladies. Next is Steve Bloom. Yeah, purchase of tractor.
So, Board, you all have the information that I provided. As a rule, we like to get pre-competitive bids for a light unit that we're thinking of purchasing. They do want to hear me. No, they don't. So, we're looking at purchasing a tractor. The tractor that we currently have is older than Jason. It's older than Leah. It's almost as old as you, Rick. So it's like you. It's a good old tractor, Rick, but it's not safe. And we need to move into this century. So in front of you are the information you have read listed: a Mahindra, a Kubota, and a John Deere tractor. And as I went through all of the bids, I didn't go for the lowest price, but it ended up being the lowest price. So I felt the other two were more tractor than what the district needed. The one that I picked out being the lowest price, I think, is going to fill our needs for the next many, many years. It came with all of the equipment that we need, the attachments, the implements that are going to be needed. We've never had a set of forks on anything in this other than a pallet jack in the history of Glen Lake. So we'll have a set of forks. We can actually move pallets of heavy things kind of a cool thing. And I've spent a lot of hours in that particular brand that we're getting. I've had my keister parked in a tractor identical to this one for at least 2 years. I'm very happy with it, and I've driven the other two. They're, in my opinion, not as operator friendly. So that's another reason I'm recommending that you all choose the Mahindra. It doesn't require DEF fluid, which is the diesel emissions fluid, which is another expense and it's another hassle. And all of our buses, the new buses, all require that. And as you probably know, there's oftentimes issues with that. So I'm asking for your approval on the tractor purchase as listed in the bid forms. If you have any questions, I'm more than willing to answer.
Or this will move to an action item at our next meeting.
And, okay.
Probably the board workshop session, the end
we
of
have
March.
yeah, 2 weeks.
If you choose to hold a
Yep.
meeting end of March.
Yep.
Great. All right. Well, thanks so much for your consideration.
Thank you. Okay, we are now on to our action items. Action item 3220, approval of the softball overnight to attend Holton tournament. Can I have a motion to approve? Okay. Any discussion on this? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. 3320, approval of Gosling Zubek for elementary playground project. Can I have a motion to approve 3220?
So moved.
Or 3320? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 3420, approval of the community forum workshop meeting on a date to be determined. And we were thinking,
Well, I think the date that seems to be working out the best for us that week, folks, is Thursday, the 26th. I believe I have that date correct. There is some hope that we might be playing a quarterfinal and then a semifinal game that week in boys basketball. The 23rd is not best for Chrisman Construction Company, although they're willing to work things out. I think it's best, though, if we can have Dan and Kalina up here together. So, board, if that's a possibility, that would be my recommendation to you.
can I have a motion to approve March 26th for our community forum workshop meeting? Can I have a second? Any discussion?
What do we, in terms of the content on that particular meeting, what's our, the idea that we would be looking to handle within that meeting?
The hope would be that we would have a workshop session like we normally would, so we'll go through any action items, discussion items, presentations as might be needed, go through the rock review as we normally would, and then allow both Matheson Architects, Chrisman Construction Company to work with the Board of Education and anyone in attendance, but the target audience is yourself, Board, to take a look at a push out of all of the work that's been done, both within the community forums, the work that you'll be doing with our student government on Friday. We're very excited about that, along with input that we've been receiving right along for many, many months. Our hope is that that type of a push out that evening will generate even more community conversation and discussion and ideas, and then we'll take it from there as we move into April.
Thanks.
Board, does that sound comfortable to you as to
Everybody make
a
that?
format for that evening?
You cannot? Okay. Jason, are you going to still be?
Currently, I would not be able to attend, but that's not making plans at this point.
You're up in the air.
Next day. So, We can work.
Now, if you would like
how
him
that
to run
Okay.
that, then.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And board, please know that if you approve the 26th, you always have the right to change that date later.
Okay.
And we'll publicize that, we'll go through the process. And so we have flexibility as needed, absolutely.
Okay. Right, and we'll move forward. Can I have a motion to approve? Oh, I already, well, we discussed.
reviewed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries. 3520, approval of sixth grade moving to middle school. Can I have a motion? Can I have a second? Any discussion on this one? I just want to say thank you, Stephanie, for all the time you have put as a parent, for me as a parent, as a board member. You really rocked it. I mean, I feel very comfortable with my child being a potential sixth grade middle school. So, thank you. Yep. Yep.
Great team that worked on that.
Oh,
Great
yeah,
team.
yes, thank you. Any more? No? Okay.
Vote? Go to a vote?
Yep, yep. Can I have a motion to approve? Yeah? Or did I do that? Oh, I'm in discussion. Jeez, I got it. I'm gonna get this. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
That's a big deal, board. That's a big deal.
I got a little mom bear there.
That's a big change. That's a big change, and we're more than ready now, but even more so, of course, by the time we get to August and September. It'll be very.
Okay, now we are on to the parent advisory report.
Yeah, this was a good meeting. And there it is. I feel like there are a few different things that show the impact that PAC has. One of the things that we reflected on today was the safety of the parking lot. That's been an issue for a long time, and after bringing that up now, there's the great signage. Mr. Hoover's out there. There are people assigned to the parking lot, and so that's been a nice improvement for everybody's safety. Another sort of quick thing that was brought up by a first grade parent was regarding having a float and trailer for the Cherry Festival, which historically has kind of been like a reinventing the wheel every single time. And by bringing it up, that's been solved. There will be the school will maintain a float
We will
trailer.
have our own float.
We will have our own float.
We're
It'll
so excited about that.
Yes, that will not be getting in the way. The playground park has been something that's been on the PAC agenda for so long, and now we're excited to hear more about how that's well underway. Let's see, what was the recycling? Another thing that was brought up by PAC was the need for recycling, and that's happening. I mean, for the soda bottles and things, but. So there were a lot of things that we kind of were able to check off the list as a result of just the quick action happening with Mr. Hoover. Also, some of the new topics that came up, there was an interesting discussion regarding sixth grade math. So it was just an interesting discussion. There's something to think about. There's nothing really to report on it other than that was a new topic.
Would it be all right to have Steph interject something at this point?
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Stephanie.
Sure.
Sixth grade.
So this is kind of fascinating. While you were in there having a parent advisory meeting, I was with the math department having a PLC about sixth and fifth grade math and the transition and what that would look like. So we left that meeting having determined we'll be having a parent information night on April 16th to bring parents in and talk specifically about what will fifth to sixth grade look like, what does sixth to seventh look like, because in the elementary school we use math expressions, in the middle school and high school we use a math curriculum called CPM. We are actually leading the region right now in the implementation of CPM, and we have the highest scores of any school in the ISD. After 2 years of implementation, as a matter of fact, TCAPS just voted to adopt that curriculum based on the work that our teachers have done here. So we're going to bring parents in. We're going to talk about what that transition looks like. We're going to talk about what our programming from middle school through high school looks like, how to accelerate a child, and then we're going to actually put parents through some math practices that their students participate in the classroom. So that was happening while you guys were talking, so that was kind of cool.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, thanks.
That'll be exciting to report back. That's great. Yeah, and then and another topic that came up was concerns about the some of the online learning that was in the case of an extended absence, and sort of concerns about maybe internet access at home, or just, and it led to a discussion about the online learning, which seems like it's just actually, I think it's great that the school is addressing it and kind of coming up with a readiness plan for that, and that we're kind of looking forward to like what might be some remote access or some remote learning access opportunities going forward. Just right now we're concerned about COVID-19, but who knows what could happen next, right?
Great, thank you,
That
Brooke.
sounded a little like
And Mark, if
dystopian.
you'd be kind enough to give the microphone to Jennifer Gretzmacher, please. Jen has worked on this for us and the communication that went out this weekend. Yeah, that's kind of forcing her hand, isn't it? Yeah, Jen.
All right.
There you go.
So we have started talking about doing some parent meetings with the IXL training that we have. We have a program right now, it's 1st through 8th grade. We're working on quotes right now to see about extending that, but it's really covers language arts and math, and then we did a trial this year with social studies and science that just ended in January. So we're looking at some of those other curriculum options. They've really kind of beefed those up a little bit. I've also been talking with New ZLA, which is another online component that which is an amazing program because they structure it. All of their articles and components are adapted. So their Lexile levels, you can have an article that's from a 3rd grade to a 5th to a 7th to a 9th. It kind of scales up that way. So they've reformatted everything. So I had contact with them on Friday, and they got me a quote today. So we're going to go back and forth a little bit just to try even maybe a pilot to see if it's something we're interested in for next year. But that would also then extend those learning opportunities throughout, and also would actually help supplement all of those other programs and curriculums that we're doing right now. So.
Is FOSWeb, is that part of that? Is that separate?
FOSS are the science kits that we use, and FOSS is part of the New ZLA. They are aligned. Their programs, they were all used to be in one, and now they're narrowing it down to New ZLA Science, New ZLA Social Studies, New ZLA ELA. But they are integrating and aligning with all of the curriculums. So if you wanted to go in and look at the social studies with all the new curriculums, you will find that they've not only are they aligned with the textbooks, they're all aligned to the Common Core. You could literally, the teachers can go in and say, hey, we're working on this unit, and they will be tons of resources, all differentiated reading abilities, quizzes that go with that. So just a wealth of resources that support what we're already doing, and could potentially extend the kids' learning to things that they're more interested in as well, or looking at how does a current topic that we're studying now relate to the historical, Revolutionary War. And kind of see some of those cross-curricular activities as well. So it's a pretty powerful source, so we're looking at doing some potential pilots with that, but it would also, again, then open up more of that online learning aspect and for the kids at home, which would be, still structured.
Jennifer, has anybody surveyed our student population to know who would not have internet connectivity at home?
We have started a little bit of that, and just with the 2nd through 4th graders, because they don't typically take their Chromebooks home, but that was one of the things that came up. Well, they have the devices, can we let them take them home? So on the forms that we sent home was, first of all, do parents want to opt out? Do they not need their kids to bring it home because they have one at home already? Or do we have internet access? But as far as the K-12, I'm not sure that we have that information.
I know that it was a problem when I was working here because kids would come in and they would need to do things for college, at my computer, or while they were in the building.
Right.
And I would sure think it would be wise to survey so we know. One district north of Seattle today closed, and they said 95% of their students did have internet connectivity, and they had supplemented the other students with devices that had their own internet connectivity.
Right, and when we started the conversation on Thursday, that was one of the things that kind of came up, that there are ways to get around that if we know which kids we need to do that. So a survey would be a wise idea to make sure that we can be prepared.
I think that's a great point. And in fact, Leanne, tell me, what is the device, or Kurt, that we purchased or rent for a student that's in an area in the district that needed that assistance, so that they could use their phone as a Wi-Fi hotspot and not burn through their data where it just slows super down. And we're more than happy to continue to survey, look, and find out. And Trina or Jen, did we happen to get a number on, that was one of the questions in the PAC meeting, do you know how many opted out? Do we have that number?
They're still coming back, they're still kind of trickling in.
Okay, great.
Yep, so we will have
Great.
that hopefully soon.
Thank you. Or one of the reasons that I've asked Jen to work with Stephanie as kind of a point of the spear with this curriculum work is two main reasons. One, Jen is our elementary curriculum coordinator. That's a Schedule B position, and we're just thrilled to have her working with that. And as a Title I instructor, she oversees a lot of our instructional practices, K-6. The other part of that is I've asked Trina, as you know, to chair two really important committees that are getting up and running. One of them is our Gifted and Talented Committee, and then the McKinney-Vento Homeless Liaison. And so we've got great talent. We're trying to align that leadership and broaden out our leadership within the scope of responsibilities at both the secondary and elementary levels. So just wanted you to be aware of that, board. So Trina, you could sure weigh in on this at any point if you'd like. Would you at this point, or did that cover that sufficiently? Yeah. Great. Did we cover that well enough? What do you think?
Yeah,
From what
yeah.
the PAC?
That was perfect, yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Steph. Thanks, Jen.
Yeah, and that concludes the pack.
Okay, great, thank you. That was very informative. Now we are on to Rick. Facilities and Finance Report.
So the Facilities Finance Committee is composed of Corey McNitt and Leah and myself. And in terms of the finance part of that, the adjusted budget based on last month, expenditures to date are within budget, so there's nothing extraordinary to report there. Let's swing over to the facilities. Tomorrow at 3:15, I'm going to meet with Marnie, and I don't know her last name, LaPaw, and Kelly Chowick and David Grams, and we're going to start planning the elementary playground. Tonight we approved Gosling Zubek to design that playground. They're the same designers that designed the park in Glen Arbor, so that's why we want to work with them. Kelly and I worked closely with them before. And so tomorrow we'll take a look at what we currently have. We'll talk about things that they would like to see on the playground. We'll make a list of those things. We'll decide, what do we want to keep, what don't we want to keep. We'll figure out where we're going to put that, equipment. And then we'll call in Klaus Hienert from Gosling Zubek. We'll work with them to start designing a new playground. And it will be fun when we get done. It's a fun project to work on. I'm thrilled to be on it. And, there are going to be some really neat things that we're going to put in the park. So that's the elementary playground. And then tonight we have Matheson and Matheson here and Chrisman Company to talk to us about several of the summer projects that we're going to be working on tonight. Once we've completed Jason's going to be working with the high school students or the students at school to talk to them about what they'd like to see in the facility. Once we start working, have another community forum, and then we'll do a survey of the community. We'll then come back with ideas for what could this school look like in the future. What do we need to add? What do we need to fix at the school? Where are we going to take this? And so, we're not prepared to do that tonight, but we know there are some projects we're going to work on this summer, and so they're going to talk to us about those projects tonight. So, Corey, did you want to add anything, or Leah? John, questions at all? You good?
right, on to the principal reports. Stephanie.
Hi again. So you have my report. It's short. Look, I rhymed. Sorry, I couldn't resist. For students in that section, John and I met with Karen Richard and Chris Moorhead to talk about the trip to Germany, and that trip will just be pushed back at this point until May. And I believe those plans are relatively finalized for us. We've just moved the dates and maybe give us a little bit more time to see how these travel plans will all work out. And then we started our robotics and drone competitions. I don't know if you had an opportunity to see the drone competition last week in the auditorium. It was pretty amazing. We had a student, is Toby still here? We had a student who qualified for state competition, and we have another drone competition coming up. So that's new for us this year, and it's really exciting, and the kids, they love it. It's something to see. So if you can make the next competition, that would be great. Under instruction, we invited a man named Steve Seward to the school. He spent last Thursday with us, actually February 27th, he spent the full day with us. And he worked with our staff in the morning on some professional learning, and then he worked with Tarina and myself, and we did classroom walkthroughs, training on a specific model of affirmative feedback, which really highlights teachers' strengths and then provides them some cognitive coaching moves. Then he worked with our leadership team, and then he did some one-on-one coaching with me. So that was a really exciting day for us. Steve works with MASSP, which is the Michigan Association of Secondary School Principals, and he contracts all over the state to work with leadership teams and principals and staff in professional development. So that was super exciting for us. And then our leadership team had its first meeting with Steve to talk about what is our purpose as a leadership team, what is our vision of high quality teaching and learning here at Glen Lake, and then what sorts of supports will we need to provide staff either through their PLCs or other professional learning for us all to be moving in the same direction with instruction. So that's super exciting. And then the last update down there at the bottom, the last bullet, we started our budgeting process today with staff. Each staff, thanks to Leanne, received a printout of money that had been spent so far this year by department, and they sat together in departments to look at what had they already spent, what do they project they will still need for the rest of the year, and then what do they project they'll need for next year. So that was kind of exciting to see them go through that process. I think that they were pleasantly surprised, but also maybe a little shocked at some of them for how little they had spent as a department, and then others, they realized there was a lot more there that they needed to consider. So it's going to be a great process. I'm really excited about that. They'll take the next 2 weeks to continue with their departments and then submit those to me, and then John and I will work together to figure out what a secondary projected budget should look like. So I believe we're going to be ahead of schedule to get you some numbers. So that's it for me. Do you have any questions? Great. Thank you.
Thank you. It's funny because Stephanie and I were talking last week about our principal's report, and it's like, I don't have that much, but I'm so busy. And so a lot of what we're doing, we're just forging ahead, and you've heard about a lot of it already, but we really are in the thick of it. And a lot of what Stephanie said also applies to the elementary school. We had talked at the last meeting how some of the greatest teacher growth comes from administrator growth, and I just want to thank you again, Stephanie, for bringing in Steve, because that was one of the best learnings that I'd had in a while. And it really focused my observations when I walk into a classroom, the fact that I could get a very significant amount of information in 3 to 5 minutes that could help a teacher out was just amazing. It was eye-opening, affirming, and really changed how I thought about leaving comments. So thank you for that. We also started budgetary process today. I don't think we're ahead of schedule. I think we're on schedule. So we're still trying to finish up this year, but we've also started talking about what next year looks like. A couple other things I want to highlight is I am really proud of the amount of extracurricular options that we do have for our students. You mentioned drones. We've got some sixth graders that are involved with that. They practice in the hallway over here if you ever get a chance. That's fun to watch. Robotics. We had Battle of the Books this past weekend. We've got some coaches over here. They had a great time with that. We have art club, all sorts of things. Oh, Alice in Wonderland coming up. We have over 20 fifth graders who are participating in some way in Alice in Wonderland. And that's just fantastic that they are going to do that with their secondary cohorts. So we love that. March is Reading Month. Last Friday was Crazy Hair Day. I don't know if your kids came home or came to school with, the crazy hair. Saw some great things. This Wednesday, every Wednesday and Friday we have a dress-up day. Thursday's Random Act of Kindness Day. So this Wednesday is wear athletic gear. I think it's gear up for reading. Does that sound like? Yeah, that sounds about right. Gear up for reading. So I'm wearing sweats, Mr. Hoover. So that's fun. And this is all month. And we're hoping if we can get enough bus drivers to do an all elementary school field trip to a Traverse City Pit Spitters baseball game June 3rd. Won't that be fun? I know. So it's free hot dog and chips, and so yeah. So we're that's our only thing is if we can get at least 7 buses. As Mr. Hoover said, we've got the Gifted and Talented Committee just about up and running. I've already talked to a few parents who are nicely agreed to be on this because there'll be a little bit of extra work. Sent the email out to staff who want to be on it, so I've gotten those responses. So we're just about ready to rock and roll with that. McKinney-Vento, I took action today to fully take that on and to get some training into our schools. So hopefully we can get that going soon. And Brooke, you had asked about coding. A couple of sessions ago, and so Kelly Sandy, you can see, wrote up some stuff about coding, and she usually only does it with 3rd through 6th grade, but she's like, I'm going to try it with 2nd grade and see what happens. And she called the office. She's like, you got to come see this. And it was great. They were into it, and they were great. So yeah, it tells you that you have those high expectations. They're meeting them, being yeah. So it was fabulous. We had our Kindergarten Early Childhood Information Night last Thursday. Thank you, Leah, for showing up for that. Really appreciated that. And then Kindergarten Roundup is coming up on Thursday, April 16th, and that's a during the day thing. Parents sign up for a 45 to an hour block and come and sign up to be kindergartners. Any questions? Good stuff in elementary. Thank you.
Mark.
Thank you, Tarina. Steve and I were hoping you could be a little more inclusive with that crazy hair day, but we can work on that schedule a little bit. A couple of coach highlights that I'd like to point out this month. Jason Bradford recorded his 200th career victory in February, and that has been counting, and we hope that continues to count, Coach Bradford. Tim Peterson, one of our football assistant coaches, has been selected to be an assistant coach in the Michigan High School All-Star Game this summer, so that's a nice highlight for Coach Peterson. We had a busy week last week with the great help of Rachel Stein. We successfully hosted the MHSA Bowling Regional at Lucky Jack's, and then last week's fun and awesome girls basketball district tournament here capped off with a Laker victory and district championship was a lot of fun. And during that month of February as well, since we've met, Marley Sadal placed well at the MHSA State Ski Finals. And just to highlight Marley as an athlete and as an arts performer, how about the national anthem that she has been bringing to those games, huh? Absolutely incredible. So many people have commented to me how amazing she is. So a great shout out to Marley for her work. Met with Dave from Floor Care Concepts last week to take a look at some design ideas for the high school gym floor and possibly the middle school. He was really here to assess the floors and determine if it's time for a sand down and to restructure. And we had talked before about potentially reorienting the volleyball courts in the high school gym to make it a better venue for our volleyball team. So Dave will has begun to give some designs, and we'll give some price ideas here soon, and I look forward to working with him there. I will be attending as a MHSA Rep Council member and on behalf of the Class C and D schools of northern Lower Michigan at the MHSA at the end of March. So I'm looking forward to that one. And Jill Walker and I came back late last night from the screen printing conference in Chicago, and I heard earlier somebody say about just needing more time. I want more. I want more. It was so informative. We've had a class on Corel Draw, which all of the folks in attendance, business owners and aspiring business owners and people there kind of agree that that's the industry standard for silk screening and printing. So I've got a lot of work to do there, as does Jill, so we'll continue to look to develop in that area. But as in terms of equipment and the craft and the excitement to potentially bring it back to our students in the things that we've been talking about, to have our own in-house small Laker business idea is hopefully something that will come to fruition, but more work to be done there. But I needed an extra seat belt for Jill to hold her down in that SUV on the way home. Both of us were so super excited and had so much fun. So thank you for allowing us to do that and to gain such great insight on bringing that craft here to our students. Our Northwest Conference basketball teams continue the boys begin that tournament run Wednesday night at Mansalona, 5:30 against Mansalona. And our Northwest Conference and District Champion girls head to Grayling tomorrow night for a 7:30 game against Pinconning. And I always hate to put the cart before the horse in any of these things, but it does take some planning. So we're working on some potential buses for some of our students to attend, whether it's on the cheer bus when they're making it to games, or whether it's a separate spec bus. So trying to get some plans laid out, and we'll get some information out to our students on that very shortly. And then finally, day one, spring sports.
Spring sports.
Although, who would have ever thought that on March 9th, our girls' soccer team would be able to be on a playable surface for day one of practice. So they were out there. Coach Boynton came in soaking wet, but they made it. So here we go in the new season. Thank you. Questions, comments, concerns?
A question about the training that you went to in Chicago.
Yes.
So do you feel like that will be a doable fall thing that will be offered?
Well, Jill and I would love to see us get started this spring. Do I think it's doable for fall? I do. Okay. Absolutely. But if we had our druthers, we would be able to get set up this spring before we leave. There are lots of shirts to be printed between Salute to Service T-shirts that I want to get our hands on for our early September game and many other events that we've got coming. So I know that her students are super excited about it. To answer your question, yes, by fall, I sure hope so. But if you can help it make it happen, spring would be even better.
All right. Awesome.
Sixth grade and how they move into the middle school. Is there any athletic considerations in there? Are there any of the sports that you're considering? And you may need time for that, or maybe think about all of it.
Yeah, great question, Jason, with regard to sixth grade students moving up. Currently, schools in the Northwest Conference utilize our sixth graders on a sort of an as-need basis to fill rosters. And even when we do that, that needs approval by the athletic directors in the Northwest Conference. So for the short answer to that would be we will continue with that and look to potentially change, may or may not, as far as the Northwest Conference approval, or whether we can just utilize those students in our sports. There's not a lot offered for sixth grade specifically, so it'll really depend on what our philosophy will be in terms of participation on the middle school levels. 7th and 8th grade basketball, for example, we utilized our sixth graders in volleyball because we had low 7th grade count, and that took Northwest Conference approval. So in the short term, that would be the process that will continue until we, the conference, or the MHSA, possibly expand into the sixth grade level for those students. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. All right, we are on to our last public comment. Anybody? No? Okay, and we're going to go on to superintendent report.
Because of the efforts that still need to be made yet this night in a closed session, I'll simply share with you that Steve, your custodial staff has just really been outstanding. As you know, board, we had 2 staff members in this weekend cleaning every square foot of the building using a chlorinated spray and other measures. We hit a spike last Wednesday of about 10-11% of absence due to illness. Thursday it was 8%, Friday 5%, today 4%. So it just seems that there's a lot of folks both being very conscientious at home. Surely the work that's being done here at school, it's making a difference, and we're really grateful to you, Steve. Well done, buddy. Well done. And that's all I have.
And
That's all I have for you.
our team. We do?
Not public comment, but my team is wonderful. They care a lot about the school. You know, they treat it as if it's their home, and for a lot of them, it's an extension of their home. So they do their best every day, and you know that's why I love them.
I think that's an interesting point, Steve, that you raised. Board, there are many reasons that I am vehemently against any type of privatizing of food service, transportation, custodial maintenance. And that's one of them right there. You might save $1 or $2, but maybe not. But you never get the quality, you never get the caring, you never get the extra mile effort. And so my hope is board will never be in a position to even have to consider that. The efforts that our staff is making, they really do. We talked to them that we'd hope that this would, you'd take care of it just like you would your own home, and even better if that were the case. So great job, Steve.
On to board correspondence. We had a thank you to Westside Community Church for lunch debt donation, which was an amazing gift to our school and kids. And then also we received several thank you notes and letters from the English 12 class, which was great as well. Our scheduled activities for future meetings will be it's going to be spring break, March 30th through April 4th. I don't see any others on the list. Now we're going in, what was that? Right, we do need spring break. That is a good point, Bethany. That's actually a great point. Okay, then I'm going to hand it over to Jason, the study session. Nah?
I believe there was a determination by the Facilities Finance Committee to table what we were going to present tonight to another evening, and so what Jason and I have been working on will also need to be tabled.
So what we're going to do at this point is have Matheson and Chrisman come up and talk to us about the summer projects that we have on the plate, and then have basically a general board discussion. We'll have questions about it, and because not everybody's had a chance to see some of these plans.
Okay.
So.
Do you guys need tables?
hard over the last several weeks to identify and clarify. Pardon me? Is it on? Oh, it is. This is my stage voice. Okay, let's start that over. I'm Tom Matheson. This is Evan Matheson, and of course we have Dan Lamore and Kalina Kolakowski. And we have been here all afternoon working with several board members and with the superintendent and with Steve and so forth, working on, and Mark, working on various parts of the summer projects. And we wanted to bring sort of a progress report to you about where we are with those. There are several projects that we want to talk about today. The first being the bus garage, a project that has been needed for a long time and one that has been focused on. It's about a 9,500 square foot building. It accommodates a number of buses for both maintenance and bus wash. It'll have great facility and effectiveness for the district. And so that's one of the projects that we're bringing forward, and we're very far along on the detail for that. And I think Dan will be talking a little bit more about the schedule for these summer projects. So the bus garage is the first one on our list. The playground at the elementary school has already been talked about today, and you've just hired Gosling Zubek to do some design work along with the committee that's in charge of the design of that playground. That's another of the summer projects for this summer. And the third one is actually the team room, but we'll go to this one. The fourth, we'll do the tennis courts first. This is a tennis series of 8 courts in what is now the practice field, just on the south side of the football field. In this plan, we're showing some additional parking, but 8 tennis courts with some appropriate seating for viewers. And we're talking about now a canopy in the center for some weather protection and for some storage. So we think this will be adding a great kind of facility and a great asset to both the community and the school. And the next one is the team room. And Evan, I'm going to have you describe this one.
Thanks. I'm Evan Matheson with Matheson Architects. This is a team room that we're working on in between the varsity baseball, the competition softball, and the practice softball, as well as the soccer field. So the intent is for a building with 2 components, these 2 pieces. Each one's about 1,600 square feet, about 25 by 75. One side is intended for the home team and the supporting spaces and the therapy room. The other half is intended for the visiting team, for men and women. Also some common bathrooms for the public at the end, and some additional family restrooms. So 2 building components, and we initially had them organized in a rectangle with a breezeway in between, and we've decided to start to play around with the positioning of those 2 buildings so they can better address the parking and the fields around them, as well as offer shade opportunities for people without feeling like they're in a tunnel. So if we go to the next slide. So these are some early concepts. There's some ideas about some clerestory glass, some high glass above the locker rooms, which would gather lots of natural light for the teams. There would be natural light for the home team, as well as a little bit for the visiting team as well. There are restrooms at the end, which would be accessible to the parking, but also to everybody who's gathered there. Part of the reason we're trying to pull the buildings apart a little bit is to have some canopy space, some covered space, so there could be outdoor tables and other ways for families who are there for the day watching an event. They could gather, have places for food and bags and other things. Next, please. So these are just some concept precedents that we've been looking at. Doesn't look like a typical team room, but we're trying to find some natural materials that we can use. Part of what's so beautiful about Glen Arbor is the natural beauty that surrounds it, and we love the idea of using some of those natural materials in the design itself. This concept shows a glass box, which we won't have a glass box for a team room, but the idea of a canopy that is separate from that program space and can start to allow for people to gather. Another concept, this is actually a pavilion at a park, and it's really, go to the next slide as well. It's an open air space. There are bathrooms behind that back wall. This is using simple materials, but it allows for viewing in any direction, and it also allows for weather protection and people to gather. That's it for the team room.
Did you have more concept presentation that you wanted to show? Okay, the only other thing that I think that we're going to review tonight is schedule. And we did talk about schedule in the last community forum. Not all of you were there. Matheson is trying to complete the drawings by the 1st of April so that we can put the drawings out for competitive bidding in the community and also submit to the state for plan review. The plan review really is the critical path that drives the schedule. We've talked to the state, and they have told us that their time period required is less than it has been in the past, so that was encouraging, but we're still allowing 8 weeks just to make sure. And so that's how we came up with April 1st. Start construction 1st of June, or as soon as school gets out. And then strong desire to get done with all of the projects by end of October. And really what's driving that is a lot of the work that we're doing this year is weather dependent. So none of the projects really will be ready for school opening in September, but I'm not sure that any of them are critical for that anyways. So that's really all the presentation we have. Like John said, sort of calling an audible of wanting to talk more, hoping maybe that the board has other things to talk about tonight, the board and superintendent, as far as progress over the next few weeks. We're really anxious to hear how you feel as far as direction where we should head. So, John, is there anything else more you wanted us to do tonight?
Yes, but we'll wait, it appears, until the 26th. I would just want to go on the record board, and for those watching on the cameras, that Matheson Architects, and Chrisman Construction Company have done an amazing job putting together all the different kinds of ideas, plans, positioning within the school grounds because of those first two forums. So I wouldn't want anyone here in attendance or anyone watching at home to think that we haven't put in a significant amount of time, effort, energy, and plans into place. Understood that it was a decision made to forego that for tonight, but I would sure want folks to know that a great deal of work has been done, and we're really excited to be able to show that to you on the 26th.
I just want to add to that. I appreciate you saying that, but a great deal of work from the staff and board as well. I mean, it's been a real team effort to get.
It has. Last week we spent 7.5 hours together working on a lot of the work that has been now put to paper. And so again, Evan and Tom and Dan, Kalina, thank you for that. Rick and Leah, Corey have put in a lot of hours. Our facilities finance committee, and so we'll do another attempt at an unveiling of all of that here in just a few weeks. Great.
If I could just add a little bit more to that, John. We've talked about a lot of different things based on the community forums, based on ideas that have come forward from other people and all the work that John has done. And, you know, this is what we were comfortable talking about tonight. We need more input. at this point in time, and then we need, as a board, we need to talk a little bit more about the types of things that we want to do and how we want to finance that. So, we didn't feel comfortable enough, other than the projects we're talking about tonight, the 4. And, I'm looking forward to even getting those done. I mean, having something out as a team room that doesn't just look like a concrete block building would be something pretty cool. So, neat things are happening, a lot of ideas, a lot of work, and, we'll come forward with a little more, solid information soon.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Nick. Yeah, anybody? Thoughts? Questions? Okay. All right, then, where are we at here? We're finished with session, I believe. We are gonna, I need a motion to go into closed session. Can I have a second? Okay, we are going into closed session at 7:20. Unless there's potty break. We need potty break. How about 7:25? 7:25.
Thanks, buddy.